going on, everybody? Ty Denney here with Ty Denney's Gear Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about these right here. This is the Ty Denney Apprentice, and it really has just impressed me to no end. What's great about these is it's not just about the craftsmanship. It's about the soul that Ty puts into these. And these aren't your average custom fixed blades. These are a statement piece from a rising maker who's redefining what a mini fixed blade should be. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So at first glance, these things just radiate character here. I mean, these are just beautiful knives. Now, like I said, the lines on here are just intentional. The ergonomics on these are perfect. For me, this fits my hand perfectly. Now, I know that some people, these would be a three-finger knife. Sorry, these would be a three-finger knife. But for me, these fit great. And the best part is, so you have, this one has the harpoon notch here. So you can really get in there and do that fine detail work. And this one does not, but you can really get up high. And so these are two examples, like I said, because one has the harpoon notch here and the other one does not. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the blades themselves. So these are a little different than the standard ones you get. So this one here is a Baker's Forged Copper Mai Damascus, and this one is going to be your Damasteel. Now, normally the Apprentice comes in Magna Cut, Crew Wear, or the original ones came in ABL. But like I said, these are two of the fancier ones. These have been heat treated in-house by Ty. This one's hovering right around 58 to 60, and I think that one's right around the same as well. Which him doing all the work in-house on these really speaks volumes to the attention to detail. Now, the other ones are, the heat treat is outsourced, but I have been assured that it is done very, very well. Now, the blade geometry on these are just perfect for the steel, for the actual blade shape, everything. This is an optimized blade geometry here. These are full flat grinds that are super slicey, and the tip is very usable without being fragile, if you will. These knives are thin but robust. Now, these aren't meant to chop bricks, but for your standard EDC tasks, I feel these are just incredible. They have the ergonomics similar to the SPK Shark, which is another great one, but I like these a little bit better. Now, this is one of those knives too that you just want to use. Now, these in particular are more on the fancier side, so I know a lot of people won't want to use these just because they're fancier, but I have started using this one specifically, and I really like the performance I've gotten out of it so far. I've used it to open packages, cut open toy packages, things like that for my kids, and it's done really, really well overall. So, like I said, we're talking about materials as we go along when we talk about each piece, so I'm getting to that. So the handles, the scales on these are going to be Green Mountain Richlight, which is not typically what he uses most of the time. Now, he can use any material you want. It's going to be a little bit extra, but typically they're going to come with either your micarta or your G10. But the handle itself is just, it has this ergonomic feel to it that when you get in there, it really does, even for a thin handle profile, it really does fit great into the hand. So as far as carry goes, this thing carries like a gentleman's folder, but yet is meant to be used like a shop knife. This thing is light, strong, and purpose-built, and we'll go over specs in just a second, but it really is a purpose-built knife. It's meant to be a user. Now, these in particular, like I said, more on the fancier side, so you might not want to use this, but for your standard Magna Cut and the Crew Wear, which is what he usually uses now, they're meant to be users. So which brings me to the next thing in here. So The sheaths they come with normally for your standard ones are going to be a taco kydex sheath that's been made by Ty himself, but these in particular, these fancier builds, come with the tailored by Cortes sheaths. They're made from premium full grain leather, and the stitching is this nylon bonded thread, which is really, really nice. These fit very well in here. As you can see, they fit like a glove, and they have about this much of the handle sticking out of the top. So you have about this much sticking out of the pocket, which is a great carry, and that works for both here. So as you can see, sorry, I'm gonna get it in here. As you can see, they both fit like a glove. So we'll go with the same one with the other one. And they just kind of lock in there. So still secure, but that more gentlemanly-like aspect to it. So let's go ahead and talk about the maker of the sheaths. Speaking of sheaths here. So Taylor Cortes is the maker and started leatherworking in 2020 after COVID shut everything down. He had a lot of free time on his hands, so he stumbled across a leathercraft video on YouTube and was completely hooked after that. Now for a while this was just a hobby, making things just for friends and family. In 2022, he found out he was going to be a dad, so his mindset shifted and he decided to take it more seriously. He started taking custom orders, which helped his skills kind of grow. But one turning point, became a request for a custom fixed blade sheath for a customer. Now, he had originally turned these down, but after a while he felt like he was ready to do this. And he said he wanted to design something that would stand out. And the customer really loved this. And through word of mouth, his business grew into what it is today. So as far as your custom fixed blades go, I can't recommend Tailored by Cortes enough. Now let's go ahead and talk about Ty Denney as a whole, because he's the maker of the actual fixed blade himself. So Ty's a part of a new wave of American makers who are serious about making fixed blades. They're not just cranking out another fixed blade in a sea of production fixies. So he's doing these heat treating, the grinding, the tumbling all himself, specifically on these. Like I said before, the heat treat on your standard ones have been sent out, but like I said, they're done very, very well. But on something like this, the fact he is doing everything in-house, besides maybe the hardware is off the shelf, but other than that, all these are done by house, and it really makes the Apprentice worth its weight in gold. Now, we'll get to pricing, and then we'll talk about specs and size comparisons here. But these particular builds with these sheaths themselves are going to be right around that $425 mark, which for what you're getting, I feel like is such a great value. Now, I know it's a little on the higher end, but like I said, look what you get with it. But what's even better is on his more starter stuff, like your MagnaCut and your crew wear, and then your taco kydex sheath, that's starting around $175. Depending on the options, like I said, if you get different handle materials, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. But for $175, I feel like for what you're getting, it's one of the best in that price tier for sure. Now let's move this out of the way and jump into specs and size comparisons here. So I'm going to do these separately because of the fact that due to this being a handmade knife, there are going to be variances on weight, thickness, size, things like that, because these are not going to be mass produced. So let's go ahead and get, let's start with the Damasteel one here, and we'll do length first for both, but we'll start with the Damasteel. So we are right under 5.5 inches here. Now let's go to the Gomai one. And this one is going to be right at 5.5 inches. So a little bit longer on the Gomai here. Let's do weight with and without the sheath here. So let's move these to the side. And we'll start with the Damasteel again. So we'll do without the sheath for both first. And this is going to be 1.093 ounces. And then the Gomai is going to be a little bit heavier here, and that's going to be 1.37, and that is going to be due to the copper that is infused in this Damascus here. Now let's do with the sheath, sorry. And that's going to be right at 2.27 ounces. And we'll do this one with the sheath, this sheath here. That's going to be right at 2.6 ounces. So as you can see, there is the weight variance here. And then we'll get the calipers out and measure blade thickness. And from what I understand and what I've looked at, the thickness on the Gomai is going to be a little bit more. So let's start with the dam steel here. So we're gonna have, at the widest part of the blade here, right at 93 thousandths, if you will. 93, and then the handle thickness is going to be right at 2.84 or 283 thousandths. And then this one, like I said, is going to be a little thicker here. Let's do this here. At 112 thousandths for the blade and 301 thousandths. So a little bit thicker there and a little bit heavier, but like I said, that has to do with the copper that's infused in there. And then let's go ahead and do our size comparisons here. We'll start with the dam steel as usual. So we have the $2 bill right there. Same with this guy here. Okay, now we'll jump into the Sharpie itself here. Let's do the dam steel first. We'll kind of keep it standard here. And then we'll throw the Gomai at the bottom. So as you can see, it's kind of close to the Sharpie. Then we'll do knives here. And we'll do a fixed blade itself. This is the Elm Hecken, which a review is coming on that. And that is going to be our size comparisons here. So final thoughts. The bottom line here, the Apprentice is the kind of knife that just makes you want to use it. This thing is functional, it's personal, and it shows that Tyler is really putting his soul into these knives, like I said before. These knives make you want to use them. Well, not specifically these, but the standard ones. These are very functional pieces. These are functional pieces of art. The other ones are just beautiful knives in simplicity that make you want to use it. I would go ahead, if you're thinking or on the fence about buying these, I would go ahead and snag one because Tyler's not going to be under the radar much longer, and these will become very, very hard to get. If you like this review, please like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff there. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope y'all have a great day.